Hi, my name is Mia Delph, and I'm 20 years old, and I have been attending Victory, well, for 20 years. And in 2019, I had a doctor's appointment where I was diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. On that day, she told me pretty much that I would be starting very high dosages of 3 different medications and that I would have to go to weekly therapy appointments, and I wanted to refuse because I didn't think I needed the help. I thought I was just being dramatic, and people hear your story, and if they find out you're going to therapy, especially in high school, you'll be known as like a suicidal girl or crazy, and I just didn't want that talk to be going around about me. So for as long as I really could, I hid the truth from everyone I knew, especially family. A lot of people didn't even know that I was struggling on the inside, but unfortunately, I had a very quick decline. The suicidal thoughts started taking over. It was every day I'd wake up and I'd go to sleep thinking the same thing. Just do it, get it over with. There was no point to be here. No one would really know or miss you. It was a day-to-day thing. I would wake up, I'd go to school, I'd come home, I'd sleep as long as I could because it felt like the peace of dying, but without, having the complications of your family and all of that stuff. So I slept as much as I could. I often didn't eat either. And at this time, what didn't really help was I was in a very toxic relationship. He would constantly yell at me and belittle me, telling me things about me that I was worthless, and to the point where he would corner me in school hallways and scream at me and tell me that I was stupid and a bunch of hurtful things, and I believed him. I mean, he made me think he was all I had, and if I thought the only person I had thought I was nothing, then it must be true. So I started having pains in my chest where it was like my heart physically hurt in a way that didn't ever go away, and I didn't know what to do. So I decided that I would start hurting myself. It felt like it was an ease on my mental health to the point where I became addicted to it, and I truly couldn't go a day without it or without thinking about it. It was calming to me knowing that I was feeling physically hurt instead of just emotionally. Also at this time, I prayed a lot to God. The questions of, why is this happening to me? What's the point? Is there a reason? Like, if you're real, why aren't you fixing this for me? And I didn't get better. And so in November of 2021, I decided I was going to commit suicide. And I wrote a few suicide notes explaining why I did it and that I loved everyone, but I couldn't do the pain anymore. And I was going to overdose on medicine. I had it all planned out. And there was one night I was sitting there with them all in front of me and I couldn't do it. Something was just holding me back from it. And that made me very angry because I was in so much pain to the point I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to feel anything. I didn't want to do anything. And about a week later, I was in my room and my sister walked in and she saw the cuts on my arm. And I became on watch to my family. I couldn't be home alone. I couldn't be in my room alone. The only time I was allowed in there really was to sleep. All the pills were taken, all the scissors were hidden. I really lost anything sharp, anything that could have really been dangerous, and I didn't understand it at the time. I thought they were being dramatic because they just didn't understand. And I had another doctor's appointment. I was very prone to them. I would go often because, I thought you'd go in, do the same thing, have the same conversation, answer the same questions. You're normally out within 10 minutes. This appointment, I was not out within 10 minutes. My doctor, she sat me down and talked to me, and she pretty much just said, Mia, if I don't see you better within 2 weeks, you're going to a psychiatric hospital because me and your family don't think you'll make it past much longer if you don't get better. So I had another appointment 2 weeks later. I went back in. I faked it all. I had a fake smile, the fake laugh, and I got really good at faking it. So she believed me, and she sent me home, told my parents I was better, She saw a big difference. But the truth was, I knew how to hide behind a smile, and I started hurting myself again soon after that. And then one day, it was a very hard day, and I went searching for the pills, and I found them. And so I thought, since I found them, there's only one thing I know what to do. And they were all sitting in front of me, but I still couldn't. It just felt like a pit in my stomach. And something was just saying not tonight. And at the time I always thought, maybe that's just saying it's not gonna work tonight. So I need to do it another night when I know it will work. And later on that week, I was in the garage with my dad and, having conversation with Dad. They just talk bunch. And I didn't respond because I didn't have conversations at this time. And I remember very vividly to this day, he was sitting in his chair and he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes. And I didn't know what he was going to say. And he looked at me and he said, Mia, you're my daughter. Dads are supposed to fix things. And this is something that I can't fix for you. And I don't know what to do. And I sat there as my dad, that's 50 years old, is crying because he's scared that he's gonna lose his little girl. And in that moment, I knew that I had to get better because I wasn't the only one hurting. I always thought I was just the one suffering, but I wasn't. I had to heal. I had to heal for them. I had to live for them. My mom, the whole time she'd hold me while I cried until I couldn't breathe. My dad would read me scripture and stuff from the Bible a lot, but I didn't think there was a God. So I didn't believe. I didn't believe anything he said. My sisters, they'd cry to my mom because, they saw me at my worst and they didn't know what to do. They didn't want to lose their sister. So at that point, I decided I would go to therapy every week. At the time, I was already going, but I took it serious. I explained what was happening. I allowed myself to be vulnerable. I went to church any chance I could. I didn't miss an opportunity to go on a Sunday. I prayed and I truly spoke to him. I didn't just brush it off like, you're not talking back to me, so you're not real. And I cut off a lot of people who fed me the lies about, God not listening and the people that just weren't good for me. And I allowed myself to ask for help. I allowed myself to be vulnerable and realize that not being okay is okay. Later on, a few years later, after I was better and, I was happier, something was still missing. I always had that feeling, that question, like, why me? What was the point of this? If you truly want the best for your kids, God, then why are you putting me through this? Why didn't you heal me when I needed you to heal me, when I was ready to let go? And there was one night I couldn't fall asleep. I was awake until like 3 a.m, tossing and turning, and all I was thinking is, I feel like someone needs to hear my story. So I decided at 3 a.m, got up, I posted this huge testimony and story on Facebook, and I went back to bed after that, and I woke up with so many messages and so many shares from people just saying that they finally felt heard, that they're praying for me, that they're glad that they have someone that they can talk to. I got so many messages, like private messages of people asking me questions for loved ones that they didn't know what to do. And it made my heart feel content in a way that it never had felt before. And then I realized that God chose me to go through this so that I could help others. He chose me to be able to tell my story so other people could tell their stories. And I realized that the voice in my head telling me, don't kill yourself tonight. Tonight's not the night. It wasn't fear, or it wasn't worry that it wasn't going to work, but it was God saying he's not done with me. And to this day, I have never been closer to him. He saved me 100%, and I don't truly think I would be where I was if I didn't have him that I could lean on. And I realized that everyone always said, time will heal. Just keep going, time will heal this. But time doesn't heal, time won't heal, but God will.